Have you ever noticed how some buildings just skip the 13th floor? They go straight from 12 to 14 as if erasing a number could erase a fear. Most people just shrug it off as a silly superstition. But what if it's not superstition? What if it's a warning? Tonight, we're going to explore a story that might just change the way you look at elevators forever. This is the story of Jacob, a night shift worker at the Grand Hotel in the one floor that wasn't supposed to be there. Jacob was used to the quiet nights at the Grand Hotel. It was an old building full of character and creaks with 14 grand floors. But that number was a bit of a lie. Everyone who worked there, from the bellhops to the general manager, knew the truth. There was no 13th floor. It was a well-known quirk, a silent agreement built into the very architecture of the place. The elevator panel even confirmed it, the numbers jumping directly from 12 to 14. For Jacob, it was just part of the job, a harmless eccentricity of his workplace. He'd spent countless nights riding the main elevator, its gentle hum a familiar companion in the silent hours before dawn. He thought he knew every secret the old hotel held. He was wrong. One Tuesday night, or perhaps Wednesday morning, the hours blurred together, Jacob was finishing his final rounds. The hotel was asleep, wrapped in a blanket of silence. All that was left was to head down to the lobby, sign out, and go home. He called the main elevator and stepped inside, the polished brass doors closing with a soft, reassuring sigh. He pressed the button for the lobby. The descent began as usual. Then something happened. The lights inside the car began to flicker, not just a quick stutter, but a frantic, desperate blinking. The familiar hum of the elevator motor deepened into an unsettling groan. Jacob felt a lurch, not the smooth deceleration of a normal stop, but a jarring halt that made his stomach jump. He looked up at the digital display above the door. The glowing red numbers were glitching, cycling through floors randomly, 7 for 11. Then they all went blank for a moment before a single number burned into the display, .13. A cold dread, sharp and immediate, washed over Jacob. It wasn't possible. The button wasn't there. The floor wasn't there. He stared at the number, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. Before he could even process the impossibility of it, a soft chime, a ding he'd heard 1,000 times, echoed through the small space. But this time, it sounded wrong. It sounded like an invitation. The elevator doors, which should have remained shut, began to slide open. The air that drifted in was wrong. It wasn't the clean, faintly perfumed air of the hotel. This was heavy, thick, with the smell of damp earth, decay, and something else, something metallic and vaguely sweet, like old pennies. It clung to the back of his throat. He peered out from the safety of the elevator car. A hallway stretched before him, swallowed by a darkness that the weak, buzzing light from the elevator barely touched. This wasn't a part of the Grand Hotel he recognized. Plush carpeting was gone, replaced by a grimy, tiled floor. The elegant wallpaper was peeling away in long, leprous strips, revealing stained, water-damaged plaster underneath. It was a place that time and maintenance had completely forgotten. His eyes traced the length of the oppressive corridor. It seemed to stretch on into infinity, a tunnel of shadow and neglect, and at the far end, almost lost in the gloom, a figure stood. It was a woman. Even from this distance, he could see she was unnaturally pale, her skin like bleached parchment in the dim light. Her dress was from another era, long and dark. She was perfectly still, a statue in the oppressive silence. Then she moved. Her head tilted slightly and a smile spread across her face. It wasn't a warm or welcoming smile. It was wide, tight, and utterly wrong, a slash of darkness against her pale face. Jacob felt his breath catch in his chest. He couldn't hear her, not with his ears, but her voice echoed directly inside his mind, a faint, chilling whisper that felt like cold fingers tracing his spine. You shouldn't be here. Primal fear, pure and undiluted, took over. Jacob scrambled backward, deeper into the elevator, his hands fumbling against the control panel. He didn't care where he went, only that he left. He slammed the door close button, his palm hitting it over and over. For a terrifying second, nothing happened. The doors remained open, framing the ghostly woman and her horrifying smile. Then, with a reluctant groan, they began to slide shut, slowly erasing the nightmare hallway from view. The moment they sealed, Jacob's panic exploded. He jabbed at every button on the panel, lobby 2, 814, the emergency stop, the alarm, anything to make the elevator move. He needed to get away, but the elevator didn't respond. It sat there, suspended in the shaft, silent except for low, deep hum that seemed to vibrate through the floor. It was the sound of old machinery thinking, deciding. The air grew cold, and Jacob could see his own breath misting in front of him. That groaning sound started up again, the sound of stressed cables and protesting metal. He thought, hoped, prayed it was finally moving, taking him up or down, anywhere but here. The elevator jolted. The doors chimed again, and they slid open. Same hallway, same peeling wallpaper, same cloying smell of mold and decay. But this time, the woman wasn't at the far end of the corridor. She was closer, much closer, maybe halfway down, her pale face more distinct, her smile even wider, as if enjoying a private joke at his expense. I told you, the whisper slithered into his mind again, louder this time, more insistent. You shouldn't be here. Jacob didn't even try the buttons again. He pressed himself into the far corner of the elevator, making himself as small as possible, his eyes locked on the approaching figure. The doors, his only shield, remained stubbornly open. He watched, frozen in terror, as she began to move towards him, not walking, but gliding over the filthy floor, a silent, inevitable advance. The lights in the elevator flickered one last time and went out, plunging him into absolute, suffocating darkness. All he could hear was the hum of the broken elevator, the pounding of his own blood in his ears, and a faint, dry rustling sound like silk dragging across a dirty floor. Getting closer and closer. The next morning, the day manager noticed the main elevator was out of service. It wasn't responding to calls from any floor. He contacted maintenance, who found the car stalled, stuck fast between the 12th and 14th floors. When they finally managed to pry the doors open, the elevator was empty. Jacob was gone. His time card was never signed out. His car was still in the employee parking lot. He had simply vanished from within the hotel. Police investigation was launched, but it led nowhere. They reviewed the security footage from inside the elevator. The tape showed Jacob getting in, the lights flickering, and then for hours of static-filled darkness. The official report cited an electrical malfunction, but one of the security guards who watched the raw footage over and over would later tell his friends, his voice trembling, about the very last frame. Just before the recording cut out completely, as the static cleared for a fraction of a second, an image was captured. A hand, pale, slender hand, reaching out from the darkness inside the elevator as if waving goodbye. The Grand Hotel still operates today, and the elevator still skips from floor 12 to 14. No one talks about what happened to Jacob. His disappearance became just another ghost story whispered among the staff, a cautionary tale for new hires. But sometimes late at night, when a guest is riding the elevator alone, they'll feel a sudden, inexplicable chill. The lights might flicker for just a moment, and they might hear a faint whisper on the very edge of hearing, a voice that sounds like rustling silk telling them they shouldn't be there. So, the next time you step into an elevator and notice there's no button for the 13th floor, don't question it. Don't get curious. Just be grateful. Some doors are best left unopened. Thank you so much for joining me for this chilling tale. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more dark and mysterious corners of the world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let me know if you've ever had a creepy elevator experience. Stay safe and always watch where the doors open.